Hello, football fans. When it comes to football transfers in the last decade, which league among the top five leagues that compete in Europe's elite football gets the right scouting for their players? Those that purchases the right players at the right time, and the league that wastes so much money on buying players that they don't really need. This time I'm going to talk about three leagues, because when you talk, why am I talking about three leagues? The rest of the leagues looks predictable from the onset. When you talk about the French league, you know PSG will always dominate. They are the richest and they know their way around buying these players. So even when they have a flop team, they can win the league. The same team when you go to Germany, Bayern will always carry the day. So I'm facing three leagues: the Italian Serie A, the Spanish La Liga, and the English Premier League. So I'm starting with the Italian Serie A. If you look at the Italian Serie A, for instance, you have Inter, AC, Juventus, Atlanta, and the rest. You'll notice a pattern in this league. All of them don't spend much money. They have almost the same budget for their transfers. So Inter, among these three teams, have the best scouting. Their scouts are very, very advanced. They go for cheap veteran players who have experiences and get them for their defense. Look at their defense. They have the likes of Bakanji, Bastoni, Akabi. These players are mostly old, but they have a lot of experience and they come in a cheap price and they perform so well for them. And in the last decade, Inter Milan has gotten to two Champions League final. Even if they have not won it, it's a sign of success. Then you go to AC Milan. AC Milan this season have not really spent so much. They bought a lot of veterans from different clubs like Rabiot, Modric, and Fofana to strengthen up their midfield. And you can see the results. They are still almost competing for the Scudetto. They won Inter last weekend and dropped the point in the Serie A to 7. That's a functioning scouting line. Even without so much money, they are proving to are growing. Now, you go to Juve. Juve is not really getting it right, but they are working on something. So Juve is the flop with all their signings in the Serie A. Then you go to Atlanta. Atlanta, in the last decade, were not known until they won the Europa League, where they bought the likes of Ademola Lookman, Scamacca, and the rest of them. And you can see Atlanta has become an household name in Europe. You know they won't win, but you know they will always compete in Europe. Another team that I would like to mention that are just coming up is Como. Como is also doing it very right in the Italian Serie A with not so much spending. Their scouting has been excellent with so much loan players from different clubs, and they are excelling. They are pulling surprise wins in the Serie A. And let's come to the Premier League. Do you know Premier League teams spend so much in the transfer window and they end up with most flopped players? Because for me, the Premier League now seems as if they really depend on foreign players to survive the league. This league now doesn't have a very good youth system. If you look at the Premier League, you notice all the big teams don't really have graduates from their youth team, or they don't really buy young players who they will develop into superstars like the Italian Serie A, and they don't buy veteran players. So they go for mostly players who are in their prime, who are very expensive, and most of them come to the English league and become flops. But the reason why we don't really notice it is because the English league have good publicity that don't really talk about the waste they have. Look at the lab, for example. Look at Zexi, for example, in Man U. A lot of flops are in Tottenham. Tottenham spends so much money, but look at Tottenham. Even Man City have flops in their team. Liverpool, the same thing. Newcastle, the same thing. So England spend so much and have so much flop. Spain, on the other hand, don't really spend. The Spain big three, among the Spain big three, I might even say Atletico spends more than Madrid and Barcelona of late. Because if you look at Real Madrid, Real Madrid learned a hard lesson after Eden Hazard. They started going for players who are very young, who they will sign at a very low cost and nurture him to become superstar. Look at the likes of Hendrick, Constantino, Vinicius Junior, Valverde. These players are not really known stars before they came, and most of their known stars came for free. That's one thing about Real Madrid that a lot of people are not seeing this season. Real Madrid, most of their stars in the last decade came for free. Look at Rudiger, Alaba, and Kylian Mbappe. They all came for free. They were not bought, just their salary. So, and when you look at Barcelona, most of their players come from the La Masia. Just few buys are not very expensive buys anymore. Not very. Look at Lewandowski. Lewandowski has finished his prime in Bayern. He came with the intention of playing in Spain, adding it to his CV, not because he's there because of money or whatever. So he was not an expensive buy. So go to Atletico too. They don't really have, though they also have bought so many players that have flopped, but you can't compare their flops with the one in England. So you see why English teams are flourishing. They are still making a lot of errors in their scouting and transfers.